Welcome to Woking Up.
White supremacy. White supremacy is the fringe of the fringe.
This is a mini-series brought to you by Polite Conversations.
All of a sudden we can't talk about Neanderthal DNA anymore.
Here I'll talk about my journey into and out of being a new atheist Sam Harris fan.
In and of itself, that video is not evidence of racism.
I'm your ex-Muslim host, Ina. No, not the right-wing kind. Thank you for tuning in.
This is how the left will die.
All right. I did not think I'd be reviving Woking Up after over a year's hiatus in relation to what Sam said about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. I had other plans for the next Woking Up episode, but, this was just so bad that I really couldn't let it go unchallenged. So here we go. First, though, I want to begin with some broader points I'd like to make. Can't let this be entirely about Sam Harris's garbage views. It's been an extremely difficult week. The feelings of utter helplessness and despair are hard to overcome, really. I don't know what to do, but just say these words. What's happening right in front of us seems like not much else I've experienced in my lifetime, even though I lived through the Iraq War and Operation Desert Storm. There have certainly been plenty of human-made horrors and violence in the past, but there isn't much comparable that has been captured and disseminated this instantly, this intimately before. The blatant disregard for the loss of innocent civilian lives, the escalation of violence, the toxicity of the rhetoric, it's a lot. It feels so up close and personal because of that. It hits harder, it hurts harder, because of that intimacy of first-hand reports we're seeing on social media. The endless violence is unbearable day after day after day. And I'm saying this from the comfort of my home in a safe country. I cannot begin to imagine the terror of those who have nowhere to hide, nowhere to run, no way to save their children. No children deserve to see such terror and violence from afar even, let alone experience it personally for days on end. As a parent, this pain is almost more unbearable than any other sort. The killing of children is hard to accept, to fathom, and wrap my mind around even. We've been here before. It's the exact same playbook. They're already on the "why didn't Biden say radical Islam" thing on Fox News. And as you'll hear, Sam has dusted off some of his old Clash of Civilizations talking points. I've seen how this all plays out. I've lived it as someone of Muslim background. And I know that we're still suffering the consequences of how people viewed us after 9/11. Just try traveling with one of us. Those of you who know me know I am no fan of religion. I am an ex-Muslim who grew up in Saudi Arabia. I have seen the effects of religious extremist worldviews very personally, and I have no soft spot for it, no desire to make excuses for religious scriptures. But if your analysis of this situation cannot go beyond Islam, bad, or religion, bad, you are very shallow, reductive, and ignorant on the matter. There's so much more at play here: identities, histories, politics. You cannot boil it all down to religion, bad. And quite predictably, The free speech warriors, the free speech absolutists, are cheering on the silencing of journalists or academics who so much as express mild criticism of the state of Israel or their support for Palestine. So-called free speech absolutists are cheering on bans of peaceful pro-Palestinian protests in Europe. Wasn't it this type of free speech absolutist that used to say that it mattered most to support the expression of views and ideas one found abhorrent even? I guess that only applies when someone is saying the N-word or there's a neo-Nazi invited to speak on some campus. My lady brain got a little confused because he handed in his IDW card after all. But if you ever wondered just how much IDW-ness Sam still has in him, he makes it pretty clear in his most recent monologue on the Israel-Palestine issue.
So I'm not claiming that there are permanent differences between groups of people.
God, what is his fucking obsession with differences between groups of people?
I'm talking about the power of ideas that happen to be ascendant at any given time and place. I'm talking about beliefs and whole worldviews that come into being in one culture and have yet to come into being in others. The point, of course, is that if we recognize the monstrosities of the past, we should recognize the monstrosities of the present and acknowledge that at this moment in human history, not every group has the same ethical norms governing its use of violence. For whatever reason, perhaps religion has nothing to do with it.
Right, there are some really great ethical norms on display. This is the result of thinking you're so rational and above having biases that you don't even realize how obviously biased you sound when you filter everything through your Islam bad lens.
As this war proceeds, many people will consider the deaths of non-combatants on the Palestinian side to be morally equivalent to the kids who were tortured and murdered at the peace concert by Hamas, or to the hostages who may yet be murdered, and their murders broadcast on social media. But they're not. There is a difference. Israel remains a lonely outpost of civilized ethics. Civilized ethics. Civilized ethics. In the absolute moral wasteland that is the Middle East. Israel remains a lonely outpost of civilized ethics in the absolute moral wasteland that is the Middle East.
Just listen to the words he uses. A lonely outpost of civilized ethics. He is not even living. Please subscribe via patreon.com/nicemangoes to hear the full episode. By supporting on Patreon, you'll get access to all Patreon exclusive content, including Woking Up and early releases of Polite Conversations too, as well as special patron events like AMAs and Skype chats. If you enjoy the show, do consider supporting, because without listeners like you, deep dive content like this isn't possible.